Hello there, good people. Welcome to joining us on the 6 p.m. primetime newscast on ForYou television. Our big stories this Friday, April 29. A U.S. family caused a bomb scare at Israel's main international airport after presenting an unexploded artillery shell at a security check. Plus, the Senegalese government will further support low-income families hit by the tough socio-economic situation with over 540,000 poor households to benefit. And in Cameroon, the illegal occupation and sale of state lands, rural electrification, COVID-19 and cholera epidemic all animated April cabinet session at the Star Building in Yaoundé. Ladies and gentlemen, those are my big stories to be leading others. I shall be back in a jiffy to develop these stories and more. Once more, ladies and gentlemen, thanks for trusting us. I am Teke Wana at the anchor in Douala. On our World News Roundup today, we are told that a U.S. family caused a bomb scare at Israel's main international airport after presenting an exploded artillery shell at a security checkpoint. For more of these stories and more, let's join Leyuga Fonyonga.
The Israeli-occupied Galan Heights site of war between Israel and Syria, according to authorities. Video footage on social media showed people running from the scene in panic. The family was allowed to board their flight after being interrogated by security, who gave them the all clear. Videos posted on social media by Israel's Can public broadcaster showed dozens of people shouting and fleeing the check-in area, with others crushing or lying on the floor in confusion. However, the leader of the British Virgin Islands has been arrested for alleged drug smuggle and money laundering in the U.S. Prime Minister Andrew Fahy was detained in Miami by U.S. agents posing as cocaine traffickers from Mexican drug cartel. They agreed $7,000 payment to allow traffickers to use BVI ports with an uncovered informant. Charges files in the U.S. Fahy, the elected head of government of the British Overseas Territory, was arrested by U.S. Drug Enforcement Agency officials in Florida, alongside BVI port officials. The criminal complaint filed in U.S. federal court reviewed by the BBC, the DEA said the investigation was launched in October based on work carried out by a confident informant. Mr. Fahy and the DEA informants also discussed setting up pre-arranged drug busts of money and low-quality drugs to make it look like the BVI leader was fighting crime in the island. However, rocket hit Kyiv during the UN Secretary General's visit in the city, in which he criticized his own organization's Security Council. Antonio Guterres said the council had failed to prevent or end the war in Ukraine. He went further to say that a source of great disappointment, frustrating, as well as anger. The 15 members UN Security Council is specifically tasked with ensuring global peace and security, but it has faced criticisms, including from Ukraine's government, for failing to act since the invasion.
Down to the African continent, we are told that the government of Senegal has announced that it shall in the days ahead support low-income families. There are 540,000 of them in number who have been affected by the socio-economic crisis that has plunged the world to a standstill at this point in time. Details with you, Nota Bianco.
The government spokesman, Oman Gueye, said on Thursday it was all done to avoid an explosion in prices for essential samples and other products. If the government has set up a price support scheme for wheat and abandoned some of the import taxes, many Senegalese were still forced to shrink their groceries bill. At the end of the cabinet meeting, the government announced its latest level to support more than 540,000 low-income households or are listed in the National Single Registry and will receive approximately $64 million to cope with the rising cost of living. This new safety net will be launched on May 10. The West African country is grappling with the consequences of global inflation and the disruption of international trade due to the Ukraine-Russian conflict.
Away from Senegal, we go down to Equatorial Guinea, where we are told that Equatorial Guinea officials have promised to prosecute the owner of a sunk oil tanker that was flying the flag of that beloved country, which of course sank off the coast of Tunisian capital, Tunis. Once more, Nota Bianca.
Equatorial Guinea has said it will prosecute the owner of an oil tanker fraudulently flying the flag of the Central African nation that ran aground on April 16 of Tunisia. Vice President Teodoro Nguema Obiang-Mange, in a statement on Thursday, said the country has also requested international collaborations to detect vessels illegally flying the Equatorial Guinean's flag. The Zelo, which left the port of Damietta in Egypt and was heading for Malta, sank in Tunisian waters where it had taken refuge the day before due to bad weather conditions. The cause of the oil tanker sinking has not been determined. Tunisian Navy forces evacuated the 7 crew members before the ship sank, and the country judiciary has opened an investigation to determine the causes of the accident. It says it also wants to determine the nature of the activity of the tanker and its journey in recent weeks. The crew, 4 Turks, a Georgian captain, and 2 Azerbaijanis were placed under arrest on April 22nd. Tunis has announced that the ship was empty, ruling out any risk of pollution after having initially ensured that it was carrying 750 tons of diesel.
On to our national scene now. Without any transition, we begin from the Star Building in the nation's political capital, Yaoundé, where yesterday Prime Minister Chief Dr. Joseph Diangoute chaired the April session of cabinet meeting. And of course, we are told that the illegal occupation and sale of state land, rural electrification, the new wave of COVID-19, as well as the cholera epidemic animated deliberations yesterday. The details in this report. The illegal occupation and sale of state land in Cameroon was the first subject on the table of discussion at the April cabinet meeting at the Star Building, chaired by the head of government, Chief Dr. Joseph Diangoute. National state lands in the country are still subject to illegal sale and occupation by individuals according to government findings, and continues to be a bone of contention to government officials despite existing laws protecting them. Cabinet members gathered around the Prime Minister to brainstorm and propose lasting solution to the said problem. According to State Property and Land Tenure Minister Henry Eyebe Ayisi, the government shall stop at nothing till promoters of the criminal act are brought to book and laid to rest such criminal act which has been happening all this while with the complicity of some government officials. However, with just 26% supply in rural areas as against 90% in urban areas, rural electrification was another debate which animated the April cabinet session. The Prime Minister and his battery of ministers equally examined projects to boost electrification in rural areas. Minister Gaston Elundo Esomba of Water and Energy responded to the worries of his colleagues and reaffirmed the government's commitment in improving the rate of electricity supply in rural areas in the country through the construction of new mini hydroelectric dams as well as the provision of solar plants to over 1,000 localities. Meanwhile, the cabinet members didn't fail to talk about the new wave of the COVID-19 pandemic already in Asia and other continents in the globe, as well as the cholera epidemic in some parts of the country, which Public Health Minister Dr. Manauda Malachi assured the Prime Minister on how they are monitoring the situation as they continue sensitizing the population on living a healthy lifestyle. The Prime Minister, in conclusion, exhorted the members of government to strictly implement the laws governing state lands in the country to prevent illegal occupation and sale from unscrupulous individuals, and a close follow-up of rural electrification projects for the common good of all Cameroonians. On our health page tonight, we want to talk about meningitis. Of recent, it has been discovered that meningitis happens to be one of those epidemics, which of course is evolving in the African continent, and most lives are at risk because meningitis is ravaging lives. Our reporter Leyuga Fonyoga went investigating just what is the cause of meningitis, how can it be prevented, and this is just what she brought together for us.
Meningitis, which is an inflammation of the brain and spinal cord membranes caused by a bacteria known as meningococcus. This is usually caused by a viral infection, but can also be bacterial or fungal. In February of this year, 16 countries shared their weekly epidemiological reports. 5 districts crossed the alert threshold in 4 countries, that is, Benin, Cameroon, Niger, and Senegal. In Cameroon, the district of Akko in the northwest region crossed the alert threshold with an attack rate of 3.1 cases per 100,000 inhabitants. Streptococcus pneumonia remains a leading cause of pediatric bacterial meningitis, and non-vaccine serotype may play a bigger role in disease etiology in the past vaccine era. There is evidence of hip disease amongst children in Cameroon, which warrants further investigations. Bacterial meningitis causes serious illness in children, which can lead to death and permanent neurological sequelae in survivors. In the past decade, important vaccine interventions have targeted the main pathogens causing meningitis in Cameroon.
We are going over now to Yupwe in the Douala 3 subdivision, where we are told that it is one of those localities mapped out by the Ministry of State Property and Land Tenure to be demolished for state purposes. Our reporter Leyuga ForYou was in Yupwe recently to get to understand just how the population is bracing up to accept their fate. And this is just what she had to put together for us.
So that notion should leave your mind. You have come back to study. And this is a decisive term. Therefore, that idea should keep your mind not again busy, but you know that
residents of the Yupe neighborhood in Douala, littoral region of Cameroon, have lamented over the plan by the government to demolish their homes. The quarter has over 150,000 inhabitants. According to a release published by the Minister of State Property, Survey and Land Tenure, Henry Eyebe Aisi, unlike those of the Mabanda neighborhood in Bonaberi Douala 5 subdivision, the population of Yupe are in a confused state, seeing a lot of their investments brought to nothing. House owners, business owners and school owners, as well as tenants in that community, are in a bad shape. The students and pupils, after receiving the news of their school being among those buildings to be demolished, are feeling sad and gloomy. The teachers, however, are not feeling good about it, as they will have to lose their job and job hunt, and will also have to miss their students and pupils. The whole environment is in a gloomy state because they don't know what the future holds for them.
Par le port autonome de Douala sur les reprendre ces terres. Et finalement, une nouvelle information nous est parvenue selon laquelle Yupwe ne sera plus.
And permit me say here that Yupwe is located in the Douala 2 subdivision and not the Douala 3 subdivision as I earlier mentioned. Now, it's weekend, it's Friday, right? And of course, one of those key aspects, one of those key activities that culminate the weekend is usually cultural activities. From music to different cultural activities, we have been told this weekend, which of course promises to be long, has been pregnant with plenty of different cultural activities on the menu. A man, Nitazen Fro, was keen in investigating the menu of our weekend cultural agenda. Here is his report.
After being marked by the official release of the title, Give Me by Franco, the start of the weekend is a great one for the artist Mimi as she releases her title called Little Sister. On April 29th, the artist, Mr. Leo, will equally release his new single, Espoir. Longue Longue on his part invites you for an explosive show at the Os de Shango Wagat Snack in Bonamoussadi, Douala at 10 p.m.
Rendez-vous le 29 avril. Le 29 avril au Dushango Wada.
At the Bodega, still in Bonamoussadi, laughter will be at the rendezvous with the Night of the Little Men dance and fashion show as from 8 p.m. To give a pleasant flavor, the producer, Frank Thierry Mel, encourages you to join him for the movie premiere of La Cour at Canal Olympia and Cinéma Eden in Bessengue.
Qui elle?
Ce n'est pas la vérité, mais c'est celle de notre accord.
Tout ce que je veux, c'est de sortir de cet enfer. Si c'est le diable qui fait le transport, tant pis.
As for Guebo Solo, he invites you to a breathtaking nightclub showcase. And Blackie Kara will be performing at the Swiss Strass Club in Germany at the terrace of Bepanda. The mythical label, Le Disque d'Or de No Disque, invites you to celebrate its 20 years of existence for an exceptional moment.
Et c'est Franck CP, l'ordonnance musicalement Burunda. Je vous invite le 30 avril massivement à venir, on va s'amuser ensemble pour les 20 ans du Squat Room.
Also, on April 30th, the 237 Jazz Festival will close its doors in Bonandale and will offer you a concert of pure jazz from Cameroon and abroad. On May 1st, nothing could be more beautiful than spending the evening dedicated to the Labor Day with the Monieka of Petit Pays at the Chapelle Babouche Prestige in Daido. Have a nice weekend.
And of course, from culture, let's talk sport, whereby sport lovers, that is in basketball, volleyball, as well as football, will equally have a busy weekend. We are having the Elite One Championship that is, of course, programmed to be played on Saturday as well as on Sunday. For us to get to better understand those diverse sporting activities to animate this weekend, here comes our sportsman, Nitezem Fru.
This day, Saturday, April 30, 2022, will be marked by enticing day 11 matches of the Elite One Championship. In the side of Douala, 3 different encounters will be played. At 2 p.m. at the Bepanda Reunification Stadium, Apages de Fou will come clashing with Panthère Sportif of Ndé, while Fauve Azur de Yaoundé will face Union Sportive de Douala in the same stadium at 4 p.m. and AS Fortuna will come locking horns with Column Sportive Juja Elobo at 3:30 p.m. at the Japoma Annex 1 Stadium. The side of Yaoundé, the nation's political capital, will equally host 3 matches. At the Ngwaikele Stadium, Jiko Football Club will be opposed to Canon Sportif of Yaoundé at 3 p.m. and later on at 6 p.m. will be the encounter between Les Astres de Douala and Tonnerre Calara Club, while Racing Club will face Stade Renard de Melon at 3:30 p.m. at the Olembe Annex 1 Stadium. On Saturday, 1st of May, in Bafoussam, Yafoot Football Club meets Coton Sportif of Garoua at 2 p.m. at the Bamenzi Municipal Stadium, followed by the match between New Stars and Aiding Sport de la Lekie. Aside from the Elite One Championship fixtures, a football tournament of Journalists Trade Union will begin this Saturday, April 30th at exactly 1 p.m. at the Bapelepe Stadium in Douala. The tournament is aimed at bringing journalists together and facilitating communication amongst them. Meanwhile, the Under-19 Volleyball Lions are undergoing trainings at the Yaoundé Sports Center. The Vice African champions are preparing for and aiming at triumphing at the African Youth Games to be played in Egypt and the African Championship come July 2022. In basketball, following their victory against Cameroon and South Sudan during the Nile Conference in Egypt, the Cape Town Tigers successfully qualify for next month's Basketball Africa League Conference to be hosted in Rwanda's capital, Kigali.
And that sport report there by Netezem Fu puts a recap on today's 6 p.m. English Primetime Newscast on ForYou Television. From us to you all out there, is thanks for watching. God willing, we shall be back as from next week Monday. Until then, inshallah, God bless Cameroon, God bless Africa, and God bless the world. Bye-bye.
Ekouma Bella Boilet est l'invitée de Bibliothèque d'Afrique dans ce tout nouveau numéro.
En Afrique, on n'entre pas de plein pied sur un sujet, on amène le sujet. Et on amène toujours un sujet de manière